Most people waste years trying to learn a new language with classes, apps, and grammar books, and they still can't hold a simple conversation. Why? Because you're doing it wrong. The truth is, you can become fluent in any language in 12 months. Without classes, without grammar books, and without wasting thousands of hours watching YouTube videos about comprehensible input. All you need is 30 minutes a day of hard work and discipline. My name is Mikkel. I'm a hyperpolyglot. I speak 12 languages, and I have developed a fast and efficient language learning system in the Innovation Center of the University of Deusto, here in San Sebastian. I've helped thousands of people learn languages fast, without wasting time. This method works every single time because it's based on how your brain actually remembers and uses language. Most people fail because they study grammar rules and waste their time with apps like Duolingo and trying to learn through immersion by watching endless YouTube videos in the language. And the reality of it is that all of that is pretty much useless because it has nothing to do with what speaking a language really is. Speaking a language is like any other skill. You get better at it by practicing. So in order to speak better, you need to speak a lot. So does that mean you should simply talk to native speakers all day? You can speak to native speakers. You definitely should speak to native speakers as much as possible. But there are some problems with using that as your only way of learning. First of all, you don't have instant access to native speakers whenever you want to. You can't have a conversation anytime. Even if you live in the country, even if you know native speakers, you won't get that many chances to speak. With a few exceptions, like if you work with native speakers who don't speak English at all. But that's rarely the case. And also, if you're starting a language from scratch, you will not be able to say anything, so you will not get much practice done when you're trying to speak with native speakers. You will learn a couple of new words or phrases every day, but you'll spend most of the time switching to English and asking, how do I say this? How do I say that? Or you simply won't speak at all because you don't know what to say. Also, maybe you're shy. Maybe you're terrified of opening your mouth and making mistakes. We've all been there. Some people more than others. If you're afraid of speaking and making mistakes, you'll spend most of the time trying to survive the conversation rather than improving your speaking skills. So you'll only say a few phrases you already know. I've seen this happen over and over again. And even if you aren't shy and you try to speak as much as possible, you'll never get very good at it. If you're really extroverted and you talk to native speakers all day, every day, you'll go from zero to conversational very quickly. But then, soon after, you'll stop improving. And this is because native speakers won't correct your mistakes. If you're an extroverted, really confident person who likes to dominate conversations and you don't care about making mistakes and you speak over everyone all the time, people will be afraid of correcting you. And even if they weren't afraid of correcting you, and even if you're not the type of person who intimidates people in real life, people will still not correct you because most people are polite and they don't want to look like a prick who's correcting you when you're actually communicating effectively. And language learning should be about communicating effectively. So yes, you can learn to speak a language by talking to people all the time if you are in the right conditions, but you will stop improving very quickly and you'll get a lot of mistakes that you'll never fix because you are not getting feedback. Also, you'll be using the same phrases over and over again. Because once you know enough words to get your point across, more or less, you will stop improving because you don't need more words, right? But let's be honest, most of you will never even be able to have a basic conversation with native speakers. That's the sad truth. So how do we fix this? Very simple. You need to learn the specific sentences you want to use when speaking in the language you're learning. Instead of learning random words and sentences, you should spend 80 or 90% of your time preparing, learning and rehearsing the sentences you want to be able to say in real life. That way, when you're speaking with native speakers, you'll have hundreds of practical, useful sentences memorized and rehearsed that you can use at the right moment. These sentences are your language islands. They are targeted and practical. And when you know them, you can handle almost every situation. And if you find yourself in a situation you hadn't prepared sentences for, well, treat it like a learning experience. Once you get home, after struggling in a conversation, you write down everything you wanted to say but couldn't, and you learn those sentences as well. You don't just study these sentences. You drill them until you know them by heart. You read them, you listen to them, you repeat them aloud over and over again. They need to come out automatically when you're speaking with people. So here's the plan. You learn 2,000 sentences in 12 months. That's more than enough to become fluent. Each one comes from one area of your life, or one topic you like to talk about. Your job, your hobbies, your goals, your family, your hometown, your routines, all the things you like to rant about. These aren't textbook examples or Duolingo phrases. No, these are your reality. These are your phrases in another language. And you repeat each sentence at least 50 times over time. 50 repetitions. It may sound like a lot, but it's really not. 2,000 sentences times 50 equals 100,000 total repetitions. Less than 100 hours of total practice. You can easily do that in a year, or even in half a year. And after 10 reps, you'll start to understand the sentences. And after 30 reps, you'll understand everything and you can already probably use a lot of the sentences in real conversations. And after 50 sentences, you know them by heart. And you can say them confidently with natural pronunciation. That's how real fluency is built. Not by studying, but by conditioning, repetition. But of course, you also need extra vocabulary. Your language islands will give you the most important 2,000 or 3,000 words you need to know to speak the language. And that's already great, but you need to expand your vocabulary even more. That's why you need to memorize 30 new words a day with mnemonic associations. Not 5 words a day, not 15 like some bad copycats are telling you to do. No, at least 30 words. Because when you use mnemonic associations, 30 a day is completely doable. You could even learn 50 words a day, or 100 words a day, or even more. The sky's the limit. The key is to create associations between the meaning of the word and something that sounds like the word, creating some kind of weird or funny story. If you want some examples, go watch my tutorials on how to do mnemonic associations. If you create these associations and you actually visualize them, your brain will remember them really well, because your brain remembers emotion, absurd things, and meaning of things, not just raw data. And it'll be especially effective if you combine it with spaced repetition. 30 words a day equals 900 words a month and over 10,000 words a year. That's more than enough for fluency. And you can quickly and easily review all these words by reading or listening to example sentences of these words. Repetitive reading, listening, and shadowing is really important if you want to develop fluency. Once you have your first sentences, create audio files for them with text-to-speech software and then read the sentences while listening to the audio files with the translation in front of you. You can also get extra listening practice while walking, driving, working out, etc. At first, this will all just be noise. But after a few days, your brain will start connecting these sounds and comprehension will grow automatically. And now you are shadowing. You listen and repeat at the same time. You won't need to read the sentences anymore because you'll know them pretty well now. You'll recognize what you're listening to. You'll understand it. So start shadowing. Copy the natural pronunciation, the rhythm, and the intonation of the sentences. Try to sound as close as possible and do it as much as possible every single day. And you can do it while whispering as well. A lot of people ask me this because they are shy or they have roommates or whatever and they don't want to repeat sentences aloud. Yes, you can do it while whispering. What really counts is you actively saying them. Even if you're whispering, at least move your mouth because you need to develop muscle memory. After 10 reps of shadowing those sentences, you'll remember them easily. And after 30 reps, you'll say them automatically, fluently, without thinking. And that's how you improve pronunciation and fluency, by listening and shadowing the same sentences over and over again. And you might be thinking, but what about grammar? Well, you learn grammar in context. Forget about books and exercises and all of that. Every single grammar rule that you will ever need is already inside those 2,000 sentences you're going to learn. You don't need to study grammar. You don't learn grammar by analyzing it. You learn it by using it. You didn't study grammar before you learned to speak your native language, right? You learn grammar naturally by using it. As you listen and repeat sentences, your brain will absorb those patterns naturally, like a child does. And yes, I did say that. You'll just know what's the correct way of saying it. And that's real fluency. You simply know the right way of saying it. And you're able to say it with no hesitation. And that's it. Every week, add new sentences to your list. Do a lot of repetition with the new ones and review the old ones too. Remember, spaced repetition. Listening to the sentences at normal speed, you can review over 1,000 sentences per hour. That means that you can review the whole list 50 times or 100 times in a few months, easily. You could even listen to it at 1.0 5 speed once it gets easy enough. Or you could speed read to review the sentences much faster. Because that's the thing. It's repetitive exposure to the same content. So each time you go through the list, it gets easier and easier, and you start understanding instantly. At some point, it'll become as easy or even easier than reading your own language, because it's the same sentences over and over again. And this is how you can become fluent in 1 year by studying only 30 minutes a day. Quick summary. Here's what your day should look like when doing this routine. You learn 30 new words per day using mnemonic associations. This should take 5 to 10 minutes maximum. And then you prepare, review, and repeat your sentences, your language islands, over and over again for the rest of the 30 minutes. You listen to them and you do shadowing with them. And you could easily get extra listening time while you're working out, walking, etc. If you write a new language island every day, 10 sentences maximum, you can have thousands of sentences prepared and learned by the end of the year. And then you simply have to do a lot of repetition with them. And that's really it. It's as simple as that. You just need consistency and hard work. You don't need classes, you don't need grammar, and you don't need thousands of hours of videos of comprehensible input on YouTube. You don't need any of that. Stop wasting time and start taking your learning seriously. If you have the discipline and work ethic to stick to this, here's what happens next. After 1 month, only 1 month, you'll understand basic speech because you'll know over 1,000 words. After 3 months, you can hold basic conversations, pretty good conversations. And after 6 months, you'll sound pretty much fluent. And you still have 6 more months to continue improving. People overcomplicate language learning, or they follow trends and want results with effortless entertainment. Forget all that nonsense. You don't need gimmicks. You need intensity, focus, discipline, and a clear path. 2,000 sentences, 30 words a day memorized, 50 reps with a whole list, 100 hours or less. That's the formula. That's how I've learned a dozen languages. And that's exactly how you too can learn yours. 1 year from now, you'll either be fluent or still looking for shortcuts on YouTube and wondering why you're not getting results while you play with Duolingo. If this video was useful, hit like, subscribe, and tell me in the comments which language you're learning next. See you in the next one.